This is Chapter 7 and the latter part of that chapter for CPT 176. We say that a variable is a reserved portion of memory containing accessible information. A more easy to understand might be that we would say a variable is a name that contains values that have been set. We say that the bash shell has several variables in memory that serve different purposes. The environment variables are information that the systems and the programs access regularly. For instance, environment variables would be, for instance, what is the desktop environment, GNOME, or perhaps what is the language used for system. There are also user-defined variables. We're going to create a couple of variables ourselves in some later screens, and these are done by the users, and just using a variable name, the equal sign, and then assigning characters to those variables. There's also special variables such as the path and the pwd command. And these variables, for instance, the path is where the system looks at several listed directories. The system looks through that path until it finds the command that you have entered in the command line. When it finds a matchup of what you entered at the command line, then it will execute that command. If your command isn't set within one of those directories listed in that path, then it's going to give you a bad command type of message. You can see in environment variables with the set command. You can also use a command called print env, and these will list your environment variables and what they are set to. And you will see such things as whatever user you are logged in as. It will have your home directory listed. You'll see where it has information about the display and that type of thing. A command that we will use in our scripts is going to be echo, or you can use it from the command line. This allows you to view the contents of a variable. The syntax on that would be the variable name, and then space, and the $sign, and then whatever the name of that variable is. And as it says there, the home and the pwd variables shouldn't be changed. Those are used by the system. In your book there are seven, this is table 7.3, you'll see that there's several variables listed there, the names of those variables, and anyway, take a look at those, and those are used by the system. For instance, the born again shell version, what version is it? Also the path to the bash shell. A variable has a identifier. The identifier is actually the name of that variable. When we create a variable, we just simply list that identifier, the equal sign, and then the contents of that variable. For instance, on the screen we see there's a variable being made named NME, the identifier being NME. It is equal to the characters inside of those quotation marks. Our variable identifiers have a few rules there. They can contain any alphanumeric characters. The dash characters are underscore. They must not start with a number, and they are uppercase or capitalized letters used in that variable name. Whenever we have a variable set or created by a user, unless we export that variable, it isn't available to our subshells. Now, a subshell is a shell that's created by a current shell, and the commands, such as when we're typing in commands that we're used to using, the ls and grep and all that, those commands actually run in a subshell, and then the original shell returns after that program or that subshell has returned the output. We can make those variables, user variables, available to that subshell by using the export command. And all we have to do, again, is use export and then the variable identifier, the variable name. Often in class I will have students, we will create a variable such as in the current shell, we will switch to another user and come back to that original user, and we'll see that that variable name or that variable that we set is no longer valid. It's because it hasn't been exported. There is the env command, lists all the exported environment and user-defined variables in a shell. Those environment variables are those that are used and set by the system. Examples of that might be the terminal type or the display type or the language used. Okay? Another one that they mention here is the umask variable, and the umask variable, we looked at how to get it to display, but again, it is one of those commands, one of those variables that definitely serve a purpose. There's the alias commands, and the alias is used mostly for assigning multiple commands to a single command, and we may list several commands, put those separated by semicolons, and we can assign those to a alias, and then all we have to do is use that alias, those alias characters or that alias name to run those. Here's an example of a variable, user variable NME is equal to a string of characters there, and then we do echo $NME, and again echo is what we're going to use to display the contents or to display to the screen. Okay, so you can see that echo and then the variable NME. Underneath that we have a variable. This is the variable path, and the path serves the purpose of whenever we type in a command, for instance grep, ls, pwd, whatever, the system looks through the path, and the path is just simply directories on the system separated by colon, and when we enter a command, the system looks through that path until it finds that command, and then it executes it. If it doesn't execute it, then it may say something about a bad command. Also on the screen you see that we have the prompt, echo $PS1, that is our prompt variable, and when we display the first echo $PS1 is what the prompt is currently set to, and that is these are special or characters, and these special characters are the U, the H, and the W. U is for user, the @ sign is just the @ sign, the H is for host, and our systems, our servers, have the name template, and that's what those were named, and of course that's what there's where that word template shows up in your prompt. There's also the uppercase W, which shows you the working directory. We set the we set the prompt to to the user, a space, and then the working directory, and then we're going to have it appear with a greater than sign. And you can see there we're going to switch to music to show you that it displays the current working directory. So we can change up our prompt and make it different than the prompt, and maybe make it more customized to the user's preferences there. Okay, when another thing to keep in mind is when you exit the bash shell, all your stored variables to destroy. That would include that prompt. Okay. Environment files store the variables and the values. These are executed each time the bash shell is started. This ensures that your variables are always accessible. Let's go back to thinking about the prompt being set to what we wanted to set it to: the user, the working directory, and just the space in between there. If we wanted to do that, we would store it into one of these shell environment files, and those are those files. They are hidden directories in the user's home directory. And for instance, if we wanted to always have our prompt be that PS, the user, the working directory, then we would go in using VI or some text editor and maybe put that inside of that .profile file, and then we would be able to set our prompt so that it showed it whenever we booted up, and whenever our system read our own bash shell files, then it would set that prompt at that time. And exactly that, to add a variable, we add a line to that environment file. For instance, the .profile that we were talking about. And we could also, in that, we could put any aliases that we might want. Okay. The bash RC, or the bash runtime configuration file, is the first hidden environment file executed at login. Whenever anyone logs into the system, they log in, and then they log in as a user. That user's environment file, for instance, those files we just looked at, those hidden files in the user's home directory, it reads those and sets according to those environment files. So again, if we wanted to have our prompt so that it always showed with customized, then we would go in, say, the .profile file, the hidden profile file, and we would type in our command that in that file, and then save it out. You'd use a video, you'd use a VI or some kind of text editor to make that happen.